for a very fantastic talk. This will be the time for asking any questions. Before that, I just want to give some announcements. There is sign-up sheet. Please sign up your name and email address so that we can contact you with the similar events in the future. And also, there are some information on Asha and Parivartan, the activities that they have been doing, aid and Parivartan also. So you can check out some of the events that he has been doing in Parivartan. The first question that I got from her was where to submit this information. Should it be submitted to respective departments, or is there a separate place where we have to submit it?
Actually, every government department is supposed to designate existing officers as public information officers. And if you are planning to submit any application in any government department, go on their website. Most of this list of public information officers exists on their website. So you have to submit. There is no form. Just on a plain piece of paper, you just write to the public information officer, that department, subject application under the Right to Information Act 2005. Please provide me following information 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can go and submit this application to that person. And you have to make 10 rupees application fees, which could be either paid in cash or through a demand draft or a postal order. And you can send your application either by post or you can deposit it in person.
How would you use this process in the police department where they refuse to take your FIR?
Right to Information Act has proven very effective in registration of FIR. I have some friends who have used it, and I used it in my own family. And I will give you an example of, my mother was coming back home in the month of March from the marketplace, and someone snatched her chain. And we made a written complaint to the police. I stay in Ghaziabad, which is at the border of Delhi, which is in UP, and you can imagine the UP police. And so we made a complaint to the police. The police refused to file an FIR. And since I was in the government at a very senior position, my wife is still in the government, so we had our connections. We used those connections, and so SHO came running to our house. SHO is the head of a police station. He came to our house, and he was doing all kind of buttering, saying that you are such a senior officer, why do you want to file an FIR, we'll get you the chain. And after 1 month, we neither got the chain nor an FIR. So after 1 month, we filed an application under the Right to Information Act to that police station. And within 15 days of filing my FIR, the same SHO again came to my house with a copy of the FIR. And about 3 weeks before I came to US, I got a phone call from him that chor pakda gaya, chain bhi mil gayi hai. So it is very effective in registration of FIR.
I think what you've done is remarkable, and the whole world thanks you. In the South Asian, which is published online out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, a week ago, there was I guess there was an interview with you, and there were some comments from you, and some of them were fairly discouraging, saying that there's a major problem with the grassroots level, that a lot of people are unable to file applications, and that many people don't know about it, and all these kinds of problems. I just wondered how you would address that, particularly in rural areas, and particularly, say, with older children who wanted to question schools and teacher attendance records and things of that kind. It seems to me that there's some sort of a problem, maybe in training or something. I don't know what was referred to here. I just wanted to ask about it, because it seems this is a little bit discouraging.
The first step is that Right to Information Act has come, and it is a very powerful act. But there are several problems in the implementation of this act, which would get sorted out with a period of time. And you're very correct. The only power that is available in the hands of the government officer is not to accept your application, because the moment he accepts that application, the 30-day period starts, the clock starts ticking. So he would make every effort to ensure that you are unable to file your application. They will make you run around, they'll do all kinds of things. So we have to find ways and means to smoothen this process of submission of application. And that's one thing. The other thing is that it's also very difficult for the people living in rural areas, many of them are illiterate, to even draft an application and to submit that application. So in this, of course, we've been arguing with the government that there are technical solutions available. There's technology available, using which the people won't need to draft an application and they can just submit that application. For instance, if the government has the will and they hired a call center for this purpose, and they just give one unique number to the entire country, and you just dial on that number, and you just say that I'm such and such person speaking, this is my address, this is my phone number, and I want to ask the following questions from this government department. And your voice gets recorded, and that's your application under the Right to Information Act. And on that number, if you make a call, it will be a 10 rupees call. So your application fees also gets deposited as soon as you make the call, and the government may settle its accounts with the telephone company. So there are technological solutions available, but it would need a lot of perseverance and persuasion before the government agrees to these kind of suggestions. That's number one, as far as submission of application is concerned at the grassroots. And today, telephone, at least, this is one thing which is available in every village in the country. So if this telephone was used for the submission of right to information application, right to information would go into the most interior parts of India. The second problem that we are facing is with respect to the pamphlet that we have given with you, Save Right to Information Act, is with respect to the Information Commission. Under the Right to Information Act, as I said, that there is just one clause which is most critical, that is a penalty clause. Why no other act has worked, and this is the only act which is working. It says that if the officer does not provide correct information in time, his salary would be deducted. The information commissioners who have been set up under this act have the power to impose this penalty on these officers. But unfortunately, all retired bureaucrats have been appointed as information commissioners. And that is the reason these are the people who come with a kind of a mindset. For 35 years, they never gave out any information to the public. And they are the people who promoted secrecy in governance. They come with a mindset that transparency is not the best thing. So they are, order after order they are passing, they are actually promoting secrecy rather than giving out information to the public. And secondly, they refuse to impose any penalties on their fellow bureaucrats. They are more sympathetic to the problems of the bureaucracy rather than the problems of the public. And in the last 1 year, for instance, Central Information Commission has passed 1,500 orders. In 1,500 orders, they have imposed penalties only in 2 cases. And out of these 2 cases, one of the penalty has been subsequently withdrawn, and the other is in the process of being withdrawn. And the Chief Information Commission, if you go on the net, you would see 2 weeks back he gave an interview to Indian Express newspaper saying that I believe in ahimsa and I don't want to impose penalties on the officers. Now if he is going to make these kind of public statements, if he is going to take this stand, I think right to information would be dead in the next few months. Because the message would go out very loud and clear all over the country to the government officers that you don't need to give information. You have information commissioner sitting there. You don't need to give information, come what may, and they would start denying information to the public. And the public won't be able to do anything. So we need to do something about these information commissioners. These information commissioners all over the country have made a complete mockery of the Right to Information Act. And they are coming in for severe criticism all over the country. So our request is, I don't have many ideas on how all of you can intervene, but NRI is a very important and powerful voice. Please flood. The President of India has the power under Section 14 of the Right to Information Act to institute an inquiry against the information commissions and to replace them if they are found wanting in their job. So please flood the President of India with several emails, several petitions, that this is a historic opportunity that this country has got. Let's not do away with this opportunity, and please remove these information commissioners. And so I would appeal to all of you, some email addresses of President Sonia Gandhi, Prime Minister are given here. Please write letters. And one more thing, each email that you write from maybe AID, ASHA or any other organization, please forward these emails to the respective media also. Because if you say write 100 emails from here and that story gets published, say in Indian Express, I think the impact of each of your email would be 100 times more.
So getting information is one thing, like say a particular individual, you have quoted a lot of examples, so getting those kind of information is one thing. And I'm sure that you also spoke about the other kind of information, like getting information in bulk, a lot of information simultaneously. So say for example, if I filed a right to information application, like getting the government expense details of say a particular city, I mean all educational institutions, I mean say elementary education institutions. So I know the macro level expenditure of that particular district. So the information given by these officers doesn't even match even to 10% of that. So just for this 30 days limit, they give some kind of information, and I'm not in a position to even appeal to the appellate authority, saying, because they say that this was the information that they have, and they ask us to come and inspect. And if you go and inspect, they don't really maintain those kind of data. In say, for example, even in education department, they don't maintain those kind of data, not in any computer form or not in even in a kind of a ledger or anything. So what do you do in those kind of cases?
You see, one is that they will not create information for you. Right to Information Act is about accessing information, not for creating new information. We have also faced this kind of a problem where information does not exist in the form in which we want that information. So normally they would say that we will not provide this information because it does not exist in this form. And our counter to that has been that please give us all the records from which we can cull out that information. And so we sit there for hours together, and that they have agreed. I asked for a particular information from DOPT about a chart. I said, please provide me this. One of the information that I asked for from DOPT was that please give me the list of all the secretaries which were appointed to the Government of India, and I wanted to know how those secretaries are being appointed to Government of India. And the government said that they don't have the records available, the information available in this format. So I said, show me all the files. I will see the files and I will cull out the information and make my own information. So they gave me 550 files. They gave me access to those files, and I sat through that. We sat through almost 6 and 7 days. Every day in the morning we used to go and we prepared our own information. So what information you are asking for, you will have to be prepared to actually cull out that information from the existing records. If they tell you that this information is not available in this format, just tell them that please allow us access to all the government records from where we can cull out this information.
So that will require extensive work from the individual, right?
You have to do that. One of the sections.
So another follow-up question to that. Say if someone collects this kind of information, say for example you yourself told that you have kind of aggregated or clouded so much information. So is there any problem in you publishing or an individual publishing?
It's a public information.
Like, because it's not the direct information, right? Because you would have, there might be multiple parameters in the way you looked at those files.
So when you publish that information, you have to take the ownership of that information. There would be two types of information. One is the photocopies of the government records that you obtain. That will be stamped, certified copy. So there you can say that I got this information and this is what it says. But if you cull out that information and you make your own analysis of that information, you would be the owner of that information. You would publish that information. So the government doesn't have the ownership of that. So whether it's correct or wrong, you have to take the brunt of that.
Any other question?
You said Parivartan is in Delhi. In which other states and cities your organization operates? And I have another question. You said 9 states had something similar to this kind of act before 2005. In Karnataka, they have something called Lokayukta. Was Karnataka one of that, and this Lokayukta Act is something related to this?
The second question, which is a shorter thing. There are 9 states which had this act. Karnataka had a Right to Information Act also and a Lokayukta Act also, and both of them are the best acts in the country. The Lokayukta Act also, and they are totally different. They are totally different acts, but interconnected in the sense that if you use Right to Information Act and expose corruption, then where do you go? Where do you complain? In the rest of this country, there is no option or there is no agency where you can make a complaint. But in Karnataka, this Lokayukta existed, which was a very effective organization. So if you expose corruption using Right to Information Act, you can make a complaint to Lokayukta. So that's one. Second is about Parivartan you have asked. Parivartan structure is that it's not a registered organization. It's not an NGO in that sense. It's just an informal group of 10 people who have come together, and we have no hierarchy. There's no director, secretary, anything. We are just 10 of us, and there are several volunteers who exist. And Parivartan does not take any institutional funding. We just run on the time and money donated by the citizens. Now we have decided, we have just one office in Sundarnagari. We have decided we will not expand. because we don't want a situation where we have 50 branch offices and after some time Parivartan becomes the cause and right to information goes somewhere else. So the cause is right to information and not Parivartan. So we have decided that we would educate people all across the country, we would teach them on how to use right to information and let the people in their own states, in their own cities, in their own localities use right to information in their own name rather than using the name of Parivartan. Let them own it up. Let them own it up in their own name, in the name of their own organizations. And that is happening on a very large scale. As I said, in the month of July, we trained about 1,500 volunteers across the country, and it was a network of about 700 organizations across the country. So Parivartan will remain small, Parivartan will remain in the background, but right to information is the cause which has spread all over.
I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about what kind of constituencies are being mobilized by the RTI, as in, what kind of groups are using the RTI sort of in the last, it's only been 1 year of course, but in your experience, maybe a couple of ways. One is in terms of urban versus rural, are you seeing that being used more sort of in urban locations, or if it's being used in rural locations, in what ways is it being used? Also in terms of class division, I was wondering, is it, at some level it seems like a very middle class thing, right? Sort of very consumerist approach. I'm paying taxes and, the government owes me this service. Not necessarily sort of, like in the US you see we tax dollars at work, right? As opposed to sort of notions of, public responsibility or those. So how can we use RTI, in what directions can we push the use of RTI so that, there's also a conversation about, public responsibility and sort of notions of empowering people and so on. Those are of course already embedded in RTI, but in the practice of it, how can we do that? Because it seems like the middle class can run away with this and make this their thing. I need my telephone connection tomorrow, and and not sort of make a bigger conversation. For example, in the World Bank situation about the water thing, why were they even, these bureaucrats, why were they even listening to the World Bank when India is a sovereign nation? So they didn't have to listen. So but how can you teach them that, right? How can you train them in that?
Yeah, there are several questions in your so I'll just try to remember, and if I forget something, just let me know. The first is that I want to clarify the right to information. The Central Act is 1 year old. Otherwise, the state acts have existed for the last several years. So the right to information in that sense has existed. In Delhi, it has been in operation for the last 5 years. Maharashtra for the last 4 years. Karnataka 3 years. And Tamil Nadu last 7 years. So there has been an experience of right to information. What are the constituencies? It affects everyone. And all sections of society are using it in different parts of the country. In Rajasthan, there is a large section of rural population which uses it. In UP, Sandeep Pandey has been instrumental in going on to rural areas and getting it used. In urban areas, even slum people are using it. I mean, I hope that you've not. The ration cards is the people living below poverty line, and 2 examples that I gave was from ration cards, how it has impacted the people living in the slum areas. And in rural areas,